Will you hate your new Florida neighborhood? That's what we're going to discuss today as I give you 8 things to consider when you're finding your perfect Florida community. Stay tuned. Land, Catherine Newman. I'm a local real estate agent in the Manatee and Sarasota County markets here in Florida, specifically in my hometown of Parrish, Florida. I'm so glad you stopped by today to check out this video where we're going to talk about neighborhoods in Florida and whether or not the next one you find is going to be one that you really like or one you really freaking hate. But before we do that, I appreciate you tuning in. So please make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, like this video so I can keep this stuff coming at you.
The thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
So before we get started, let me preface this video by saying that we're primarily going to talk today about housing communities that have a homeowners association. Now, why are we doing that? Well, because most of the communities here in these areas, Manatee and Sarasota County, do have an active HOA. And of course, if living in a neighborhood that has an HOA is not your idea of a great place to live, don't worry about that. There are still some areas in both Manatee and Sarasota County that do not have HOAs, but there's just less of them. For example, in my hometown of Parrish, Florida, there are currently, as of today, 369 active listings of homes for sale in this market. And of the 369 currently active homes for sale, only 11 of those homes are located in non-HOA communities. These 11 homes without an HOA range from about 3/4 of an acre up to 20-acre parcels, and most of them are zoned agricultural. That means that they allow you to have more than 1 or 2 or 3 pets. You can have cattle, maybe horses. They allow outbuildings, maybe farm equipment, and whatever floats your boat. Even a boat, if you want to put a boat out there. So if you want to start a clown school on your property, you can do it in these non-HOA communities. Just go for it. So if a non-HOA community is what you're looking for because it gives you more freedom on your piece of land and keeps the nosy neighbors out of your business and that sort of thing, make sure to get in touch with me. I'd be so happy to share those communities with you. Now that I've established that we're mainly speaking of planned communities that do have an HOA, let's rock and roll and go over the 8 things for you to consider when you're trying to find your perfect Florida neighborhood. Consideration number 1, does the neighborhood have the look and the feel and the vibe that you want? Now, this is important because many of us, when we're moving from other states especially, or even just other areas within Florida, to these areas in Manatee or Sarasota County, we typically have an idea in our minds of what we want our next home's neighborhood to be like. And I always tell my buyers, you're going to know when you drive in that neighborhood. It's going to capture you, right? The neighborhood itself, the look, the feel, the vibe. It might not strike you within the first few seconds, but as you drive through it, as you see how the homes look and what the community looks like and what it feels like, you're just going to get an idea of this might be a place that we want to live. Perhaps you want to take a few minutes and write down when you're in your home search the things that you're looking for when you drive into a neighborhood. What does it look like when I drive in? What does it feel like? How does it make me feel? And what vibe am I picking up in this neighborhood? Does the neighborhood seem happy? Does it seem depressed? There's plenty of each, believe me, in each county. Consideration number 2, how close is that neighborhood community to necessary amenities? Now, what I mean by necessary amenities would be things like grocery stores. Maybe you're looking for an Aldi, or you're looking for, believe me, you're going to find a Publix every 2 minutes around here, so you won't be strapped for that. But are there enough grocery stores, Costco, Sam's Clubs, things like that? You're also going to be thinking about how close is it to gas stations. So we just got a gas station in Parrish, Florida that's closer to our area down here where I'm at Golf Course Road off of Fort Hamer and 301. And we just got our own 7-Eleven. Woohoo! And that 7-Eleven is kind of a lifesaver because we used to have to drive up to State Road 64 or we'd have to drive up into Ellenton to get gas. Is it close to the schools that perhaps your kids are going to be attending? And you know, a lot of these activities you have in schools now, you're there all the frickin' time. So you want to make sure it's close to those amenities as well. What about retail shopping? Maybe you're looking for a Home Depot or a Lowe's, or you just want to be able to get out once in a while and pick up a birthday present. So make sure it has the retail. And what about restaurants? Of course, we all want to do some takeout once in a while. We want to go somewhere. Maybe we don't go too far into other areas where we have to take a lot of time in the traffic to drive to a restaurant. Maybe you just want something that's close by. Does it offer you those kinds of amenities? And of course, you really need to think about whether or not that community is close to the necessary amenity of doctors and hospitals. All of us have some sort of doctors that we like to go to, whether it's a primary doctor, a pediatrician, maybe dental offices, maybe you have a specialist. I myself have a gastroenterologist that I go see. I don't have one here in Parrish. There might be some, but I don't know of any. And I have to go into Lakewood Ranch because I have ulcerative colitis. So I always have to go visit my specialist there in Lakewood Ranch. It'd be nice once we get our new hospital here in Parrish, for example, we're going to have all of these specialists close by. So make sure that community is going to have the necessary amenities that fit your lifestyle, your family's lifestyle, all of what you're going to need when you live in that neighborhood. Consideration number 3, does that community where you're going to be looking at houses have the right curb appeal that you're looking for? Now, we all hear it all of the time about how important curb appeal is when you're selling a home. It's very important for those of you that are buying. Does that home and the neighboring homes have the kind of curb appeal that appeals to you? Are the homes maintained? How do the yards look? Are they freshly painted homes? Are they freshly mowed lawns? Is there a lot of lush foliage? Is it a brand new community where none of that stuff has kind of come in yet? These are things you need to consider. And let's talk about the common areas in an HOA community. You want to make sure that the HOA is maintaining all of the common areas because that is going to play into, first of all, the value of the home and are those homes continuing to be maintained so that the community has the appeal that other buyers will want. Consideration number 4, do you want a community that offers you many community amenities, or maybe you want less community amenities, or perhaps you would like a community that offers no amenities at all as long as it's in an active HOA. So here in Manatee and Sarasota County, you're going to come across many communities that offer you a plethora, an abundance of community amenities. At the top of those amenities could be things like golf courses. There are also communities that have marinas and it's a boating community. You're also going to find communities that offer you clubhouses, fitness rooms, pickleball, tennis, large pools, splash pools for kids, playgrounds, playing fields, basketball, fire pits, all of those kinds of things that people really enjoy. Now, I will say you will pay significantly more in some of those communities, whether it's in the HOA fee, that's a monthly fee or a quarterly fee, or you're going to pay for it in a CDD fee, which is a community development district fee. Now, if you've never heard of a CDD fee, you make sure you watch this video right here where I describe what a CDD fee is, why builders have it, and how it's paid. And then there are those communities that have a few amenities, maybe not a clubhouse or fitness rooms, but they do have a pool and a playground and a dog park, something like that. And then there are those HOA communities where they don't really offer any amenities, maybe like my neighborhood, we have pickleball and we have a gazebo that has, electrical. So you can go there and maybe charge your phone if that's your thing.
And at the very least, we'll be able to sublease that gazebo, have that all to ourselves. So we definitely have at least that to look forward to. So gazebo.
Gazebo. Gazebo. Gazebo.
Gazebo.
Gazebo. Gazebo. Gazebo.
Be aware that many of the communities here offer different levels of community amenities, some more, some less. And you have to make a decision on whether or not it's important to you that you pay for those amenities in your monthly fees or in that CDD fee that we just talked about. For me, when we moved here, we didn't have our kids with us. They were all grown. And so we decided we wanted to live in a community that didn't have a lot of community amenities because they were going to be things that we weren't going to use, right? I want my own pool. I don't want to spend time at a community pool. But for those of you that enjoy that because you want to meet with other people, or maybe you still have kids at home, that's something that's fun for them to go and see their friends at the community pool, then that's something you have to consider whether or not it's worth it for you or not to pay the higher fees to live in those communities. Consideration number 5. Will it bother you if the community streets in any given neighborhood are narrow and the streets seem to be cluttered with a lot of cars? Now, you may think that's kind of weird for me to bring up, but I'll tell you, honestly, I have buyers that mention it many, many times. They'll say, yes, I want to go see this house in that community. And then we go to that community and they notice that we're having to weave in and out just to get down the streets. Now, the reason that happens, of course, if we're in a new construction community, that makes more sense, right? Because they've got the big trash bins out there. They've got lots of equipment for building homes and that sort of thing. So it makes sense if you're in a new community, a new construction community. If you're a community that's already developed and there's a lot of cars on the streets, well, that might tell you something about that community. It might be something that bothers you that you have to weave in and out. I will say that most of the HOA communities have pretty good rules and regulations regarding when cars or trucks can be parked on the street and when they cannot. For example, most of them allow, of course, service vehicles. If you're having your pool taken care of, your yard done, or you have any service people come into your home, they can park on the street during the day, as well as visitors and that sort of thing. But a lot of the communities will make sure that after a certain time at night, they cannot be parked on the street anymore. They have to either be in a driveway that doesn't block a sidewalk, or they have to be in the garage. And that brings us to consideration number 6. How close are the homes beside the home that you're thinking about purchasing? Again, I hear this a lot from buyers, especially in new construction communities, where they just feel like there's no space between the homes. And you know what? It's kind of the way it is now in new construction. There are rules now in place where the builders are trying to do more homes. Of course, they're increasing density, so they're putting more homes on smaller spaces than it used to be, say, 10, 15 years ago. So if you're looking for a little more elbow room between your home and your neighbor's home, you might want to pay attention to that when you're driving through those communities, because some of them really do seem very close, especially for Florida living. We like to live outside year-round, right? We like to be on our lanai or maybe by our pool or whatever's in the backyard. So is it going to be so close together that you can just have a conversation with your neighbor? Nothing wrong with that. But sometimes you want some separation there. So pay attention to how much space there is between your home and the next home. If it really does bother you that some of the homes in the newer construction communities are too close together, then you really probably want to consider resale homes that have more space between the houses. Remember, however, because of what's going on here in Florida with the homeowners, if you're looking at an older resale home, which are the homes that are more likely to have space between them, you want to make sure that the roof is not too old. And of course, you can always expect that maybe some of those homes are going to need some updating, some freshening up inside, especially if they were built 10, 15, 20 years ago. Consideration number 7, and this one is important because you have to make sure that you are okay with the rules and regulations of that particular homeowners association. Now, sometimes it's easy to get really excited about a house that you find. It's perfect. You love where it is. You like the neighborhood. All of that lines up. And then you forget to actually read the homeowners association rules and regulations. So I always encourage my buyers to make sure that we see the HOA rules and regulations, all of the documents concerning that HOA prior to them putting an offer on a home. You need to make sure you're okay with the fact that maybe perhaps you can't take out some of the trees in your front yard, or you can't do a lot of the landscaping you thought you could. Maybe you want to be able to build an extra dwelling unit, or you want a shed in the backyard, or maybe you want a fence in the backyard. You need to know if it's even allowed in that community. And if those things are allowed, do you have to go through the architectural review committee, which I'm sure you pretty much do. You have to get permission from the HOA board, and then they're going to tell you what colors you can use on your house, what materials you can use for your fence, if it's on a water lot, if you can even have a fence. These are all things you need to consider prior to going under contract. And you want to make sure you also look at the budget for that homeowners association. Does it look like it's being managed well? Is it being taken care of? Are things in the community being taken care of on that budget? Are you seeing that there are reserves if something were to happen? Because remember, when you're part of a homeowners association, everyone has a little liability towards that HOA. You also want to know, what are the voting rights? What does it mean if they change or add something to the existing governing docs? How is that done? When are the meetings? How are we notified about meetings? All of that information is really important for you to know up front. Now, on all of my listings, I always make sure that I either put a link to the governing docs if that's available online, or I ask for the homeowners association documents so I can upload them in the MLS, so that when other agents are bringing buyers to my listings, they can actually send those things to their buyers and they can read beforehand. I cannot tell you how often I have heard of people after they bought a home in an HOA getting upset because now they find out they cannot have a business sign on their car outside in the driveway. Or maybe they find out that they have to park their cars in the garage at night. These are all little things that you might not think about when you find that perfect community, but you need to know them up front. Make those decisions because you're agreeing to all of those rules and regulations when you sign the dotted line.
Wait a minute, all jokes aside, I didn't agree to that.
Consideration number 8 is the most, I believe, important consideration. Will that home in that community hold its value and increase in value over time? Remember, buying a home is an investment, and you want to protect your investment. So it's very important for you to make sure that you have your agent, when you're buying in a community, pull up the value of that community. Have the homes peaked in value? Are they continuing to raise in value? Is that community maintaining its value in the way the HOA is maintaining it? Are the homeowners doing what they're supposed to be doing to keep the values high? That is something you always want to consider about any community. Are you going to gain equity in that particular community, or are you going to lose equity over time if something seems to be going downhill? And remember that many times after a new construction builder has pulled out of a new community and they have a certain percentage of homeowners already living there, that particular HOA gets turned over, of course, to the homeowners. Well, it's called a homeowners association, right? It's turned over to the homeowners. Then they have to vote people in. They have to make sure that the community is being maintained. And those are things that are important. Do they turn over to a property management company to make sure things are being taken care of? All of those things are going to play into your value in the long run. I think you've seen it before. I know I've seen it in both Colorado here and here in Florida, where there used to be an HOA when the community was newer, maybe 15, 20 years ago. But then it starts falling off, people lose interest, and you can really tell when you're driving through the community because things just don't look good anymore. Homes aren't as maintained, yards aren't as maintained, and the common areas are just not looking the way they should look. I hope these 8 things have helped you to make up a list of things to look for when you're looking for a new community in Florida. And I bet you have a few things on your list that I didn't mention. I'd love to know what those items are. What are some things you look for in a new community when you're looking for your next home? I'd love to know. Make sure to leave some comments below. Again, if you're looking for something here in Manatee or Sarasota County, I would love to be a contact for you, a trusted advisor for you to help you in your journey and in your search. Make sure to reach out to me. I'd love to chat with you about your reason for coming to Florida and help you find what fits your lifestyle, your family, and your budget. And I want to say thank you so much to all of you that already subscribe to this YouTube channel. I certainly invite the rest of you that don't, please make sure you subscribe, like this video. I'm putting out videos on a weekly basis to make sure that I'm hitting all the targets, to answer your questions, to give you information that helps you make an informed decision about whether or not these communities might be right for you. I'm Catherine Newman. Thanks so much for tuning in. I will see you next week.